Welcome back to Great SpaceX. It's been a long time since we've done a highlight on exciting news and developments taking place at Starbase, so we've got a lot of topics in today's episode. First, we've got the latest updates on GSE-4's test. Along with that, there are amazing pieces of information regarding the complete installation Aerocovers on B4, and there's more, but we'll get to those burning topics later, don't worry. Without any further delays, let's get started on today's episode. Let's start off with the GSE-4 test. Recently, SpaceX has just conducted a test on GSE Test Tank 4.1 at the orbital launch site. Everything was looking good until 3:34 p.m. when the test tank failed to take all the pressure. However, according to many sources, it was a pressure test to failure. If true, it can be said that the GSE test tank failed successfully. But what if it's not? In that case, the test tank that just failed could be a sign of major problems with the Starship orbital launch pad tank farm. And maybe this test was a push to help certify them. However, the liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen tanks are fine as they have been operational and holding liquid for a long time. Thus, I am more inclined towards the former. And if there's anything wrong with the whole Stage 0, I strongly believe that Musk and his team will act accordingly. I just hope that Musk can talk about the pressure reached during this test. But in any case, huge thanks to Lab Padre for capturing this amazing footage. Next, let's come to a piece of good news. We spotted more progress made on the cargo door pathfinder by the low bay. More of the door has been cut, revealing the updated design for the cargo door. Obviously, they distract us from the new cargo door by closing the road and doing a test of GS4, which is typical Starbase. Anyway, we got a cargo door now, so let's be happy about that, shall we? And for the first time, SpaceX has more or less installed a full set of Aerocovers on a super heavy booster prototype. Designed to protect the booster from both itself and Earth's atmosphere during ground testing, liftoff, ascent, and re-entry, Super Heavy's structures amount to thin steel shells mounted on metal box frames. The most obvious Aerocover slot over the top of 6 racks of equipment installed on the outside of Super Heavy's aft end, giving the booster a sort of utility belt of hydraulic systems, pressure vessels, avionics, and heat exchangers. Unsurprisingly, those racks are festooned with electronics, composites, and thousands of feet of wiring and thin plumbing, none of which are particularly suited to sit a few dozen feet from the fury of 29 to 33 Raptor engines or near the leading edge of a hypersonic reentry vehicle. Aside from the steel they're mounted on, it's likely that every system located on Super Heavy's utility belt would begin malfunctioning or be destroyed outright if directly exposed to just a few seconds of the hypersonic buffeting and heating Starship boosters will experience during re-entry. Unlike Falcon boosters, which almost always use re-entry burns to slow down and create a sort of heat shield with their own exhaust, SpaceX is theoretically designing Super Heavy to survive the full force of re-entry without an extra burn to cushion the blow. To survive re-entry and still land in good enough condition to enable anything close to same-day reusability, which is SpaceX's goal, every ounce of at-risk equipment installed on Super Heavy's exterior will likely need to be carefully shielded. In theory, that's the purpose of the Aerocovers SpaceX has only just begun to fully install, let alone test on B4. Before B4's most recent installation on the orbital launch mount, SpaceX did install covers over a pair of hydraulic and heat exchanger racks, but left all 4 composite overwrapped pressure vessel or COPV racks and an umbilical port uncovered. After B4 was removed from the launch mount for the 3rd time on December 30th, both covers were uninstalled. On January 14th, 2022, though, SpaceX rapidly installed all 6 covers for the first time and began sealing each cover's exposed corners. On January 17th, SpaceX even installed aerodynamic surfaces around B4's protruding umbilical port, smoothing out any hypothetical airflow around the device. Prior to main Aerocover installation, SpaceX also added at least half a dozen small boxes seemingly designed to protect a number of thin metal probes that pierce through Super Heavy's tanks and skin and are connected to avionics boxes. Additionally, while less visible, teams also work to finish Super Heavy B4's Raptor heat shielding with a large number of similar sheet steel covers and panels. As it stands, B4 is likely just a few parts shy of true completion and is about as ready as it'll ever be for static fire testing. More likely than not, those Aerocovers and Raptor heat shields are essential for Super Heavy B4 to be able to perform more than one test at a time without immediately requiring major repairs. Unlike Starship, which has mostly tested 3 engines at once and only performed a few 6-engine static fires, Super Heavy B4 may eventually test all 29 Raptor engines simultaneously. When almost 30 engines are involved, even nominal pre-burner testing will likely produce a massive fireball that could engulf Super Heavy's aft, if not the entire booster, with flames. For static fire testing, Raptors typically produce a smaller and briefer but still substantial fireball during a shutdown, creating another potential source of damage to any sensitive hardware located anywhere on or in B4's thrust section. As such, Super Heavy Aerocovers may be just as important for surviving static fires as they'll be for surviving launches and landings. It's unclear if or when Super Heavy B4 will return to the orbital launch mount for wet dress rehearsal and static fire testing. SpaceX has ambiguous test windows scheduled on January 20th, 21st, 24th, and 25th. So we can expect something explosive incoming. And finally, congrats to SpaceX, you're no longer alone while pending the FAA's decision. Astro will launch NASA's Educational Launch of Nanosatellites, or ELANA 41 mission, its first launch from Florida's Space Coast, hopefully this month. On board will be 5 CubeSats from NASA and several universities. That's a big spacecraft. I'm just kidding. This program is NASA's rideshare program that allows spare space on NASA missions to be filled with payloads from educational institutions in the United States. The program also gives members of NASA's Venture Class Launch Services program early payloads. This helps stimulate the small sat launcher industry with customers willing to take higher risk launching over newer rockets. But now we must wait for the FAA to grant a launch license to Astra, as Chris Kemp, Astra's CEO, stated on social media. I don't know what the heck is going on with the FAA, but if it continues like this, I'm not sure if the US will still retain its dominant position in the space industry. And this is what's really disturbing me. And that's all the information we have for you today. If you enjoy what my team and I are doing and would like to continue supporting us in a huge way, you can become a patron through our Patreon link in the description below. And don't forget to tell us what you thought about today's content. Everyone's support motivates us to continue delivering quality content and to always improve. And as always, this is Kevin with Great SpaceX, and my team and I will see you next time.